Hey, folks. I always think about this testimony throughout the year, and so it's always very thought-provoking. Thank you. Partly because you provoke each other. That's also a little bit amusing. Chairman Phillips, I'm told that the queue for an LNG export plant, that if somebody files, the queue is based upon the timestamp of the filing, even if none of their financing is put together. And that there are other projects which the financing is fully mature and it could launch, but it's stuck behind. Seems less than optimal to me. One, is it true? And if two, is it optimal? Or three, what if not optimal, what should we do?
I think the best thing that we can do.
Or is it true?
I will have to look into that. I'm not sure exactly about what you raised with the timestamp and when the process, the clock starts. Can I just say this real quick? The best thing that we can do is to make sure that we faithfully execute our statutory obligations. And to be clear, since I've taken over as chairman, we've done everything we can to streamline our internal review processes. We've approved, when you talk about BCF, as much this year as we have equal to the last 2 years combined.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Christie, okay. Bunch of solar people in my office yesterday, and they're telling me how in New Orleans, which suffered after the storm with great power outage, that you could set up solar panels, rooftop solar with a big battery there, and that would store the energy, so if the power lines go down, it could feed back in. That almost seems like that would be, I could ask several of you this question, but it almost seems like that could be the sort of a base load that would be available should the other renewables at any given time not successfully put forward adequate power. Mm-hmm. Now, all I know is what I'm told. So I'm kind of sending it to you because I always like your comments. Is that pie in the sky, or could that be feasible for a city of roughly 350,000 people?
Well, it'd work for about 4 hours because that's about the length of a battery. We don't have long-duration storage on an industrial scale that could run for a week and inject thousands of megawatts.
Now, if we're talking about just peaking, for example, in the afternoon, we all know we're going to need more because in Louisiana, you run the air conditioner in the afternoon, or at least you run it more. You know what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Could that serve as the peaking, if not the kind of wholesale? Because when a hurricane hits, as we all know, there's a lot of problems.
No, it absolutely is a peaking resource, and particularly like on a late summer afternoon in Louisiana when it's really hot and it's sunny, the solar is generating and at 100% capacity, and it's wonderful. What you really need to keep the grid going, though, you have to have a balanced portfolio, and you have to have enough different resources that can run at every second of every hour of every day, because the grid has to be balanced every second of every hour of every day. So while you have some resources that are great for peaking, but you need other resources that can run on a continuous basis for literally.
Oh, I accept that. I'm not arguing that.
Right.
Mr. Danley, there's something in your testimony that seemed quite pregnant with meaning, but I did not quite understand. Okay? On the bottom of page 1, going into page 2, FERC has directly interfered with price formation by allowing one of our wholesale markets to change the rules of its procurement auction after the auction had run in order to lower the resulting price. Can you elaborate on that and give specific detail?
So yes, Senator. I'm sorry that wasn't clear enough. We had a recent order that was issued, and we have to be a little bit careful because this is still pending before the commission, but I can always talk about what the order said. It allowed for for PJM to reset the auction results because there was an idiosyncratically high price that came out of one of the areas within the market. And it is my contention in my testimony that if we are going to rely upon procurement auctions, that is capacity auctions, to ensure resource adequacy, then we cannot rerun auctions, because the moral hazard that attends changing the rules after the fact means that nobody in future auctions will believe that the offers they make into it will actually be honored, and they will be unable to price the risk that's necessary in formulating the correct offers. It will fundamentally undermine the mechanisms that we are relying upon.
So, Mr. Phillips, how would you respond to that? Because it's frankly seems pretty convincing to me.
My colleague talked about an idiocentric anomaly. No, I call that an error. There was an error in the auction.
But these are
PJM
major players, right? This is not like Bill Cassidy goes to the mall one day and pays, 3 times as much as he should for an iPad or whatever.
this was way more significant than that. We're talking.
But I mean, these are mature, sophisticated bidders, so I'm a little skeptical that they would make a mistake. I just say that.
The PJM, the grid operator, the independent market monitor, the states, they all agreed that this was an error to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars, impacting one of the poorest areas in all of.
So can I ask Mr. Danley, how would you respond to that? And then I'm out of time, if I can just ask.
It is not an error to have high prices at times of scarcity. That is not a bug of a market. That is what markets are for. And if what we keep doing is ex post facto remedies to, it's not an error, it is a scarcity signal. If we make ex post facto corrections to fix non-errors, that is to say actual signs of scarcity, the markets will fail.
I'm out of time unless the chairman indulges and wishes to pursue himself, but thank you all very much.